My name is James McConnell, and my guest today is Francisco Lovato. Francisco's family traces their roots back to the earliest settlers of New Mexico, preceding even the Pilgrim's arrival in 1620. As an Air Force family dependent, he attended 13 different schools, including schools in New Mexico, Nevada, Great Britain, and California. And in 1958 to 1959, he witnessed the last above-ground nuclear testing that took place in Nevada. He received his bachelor's, master's, and postmaster's work in psychology at Eastern New Mexico University, taught graduate classes there, and became a licensed psychotherapist and an administrator of programs for the disabled. Francisco is also an author, and his book Survivor chronicles his father's journey as a prisoner of war during World War II. This will be my first in-person interview here on this channel, and I really appreciate you checking this out. I know that I learned a lot from Francisco, and I hope that there's a lot that others can take away from this as well. So without further ado, here's my interview with Francisco Lovato. I was hoping that you could just briefly tell myself and anyone else just a little bit about who you are. You've had a storied career, and I'd love to just kind of hear that in your own words a little bit.
I can think of, okay. I've come to this place 76 years later from being born. I was a miracle child. I was born and was in an incubator. I was preemie, I was breech, I was blue, and I wasn't expected to live. I was the firstborn in a family and I survived, and I was always known as this miracle kid as a child. Well, my father was military, and so I got a great chance to travel all over the world and see many different things and many different ways of doing things. And I loved all the different experiences that I had, every single one of them. And fortunately, I have a good memory. I can remember back till I was about 3 years old, and every day seems I can almost see in my mind, these days as they unfold, the high points at least, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So,
what are some of those first memories that you have?
First memory that I can think of, and I checked it out with my mother, and was in a swimming pool, in a plastic swimming pool that you blow up with a vacuum cleaner exhaust.
Yeah.
And it filled up 3 tubes. It was blue and it smelled like vinyl in the summer sun.
Okay.
And it had enough water to splash around in like a bathtub, and that was my first recollection. And my mom says, "Well, yeah, you were almost 3. You were the summer before you turned 3 in November."
Wow.
And so I was two and something. And I love that pool. I can still smell that vinyl. And so I went to, before graduating and getting my master's in college, I went to 13 different schools.
Wow.
Because we moved around a lot.
Not just in America?
No, I went to school in England and, only England and the U.S.
Okay.
Yeah. But I did teach not long ago in Spain.
Wow.
I taught English as a language in Sevilla, España.
Okay. What location was most formative for you as an individual?
Oh my gosh. Most formative. I don't know that there was any single one, because each had its own highlights that were just great.
Right.
I can't think of a place that wasn't just amazing in terms of what make me who I am. It was everything had a special person, and I just feel blessed to have had so many. Matter of fact, even now in my later years, I love to travel because of that experience, to go someplace and have this amazing experience with people that I could never anticipate. I had no idea.
Right.
Sometimes I would go from a place, like when I came from England, I didn't know how to play baseball. I played cricket and soccer. And so I was always the last one picked on a team. Then, so when I moved to Nevada in 1958, when the atomic testing took place, I was better than they gave me credit for as an athlete. So I took over as team leader. I started picking the people out. I just took control and became the team leader. And my play matched the...
Right.
So it's like I went from the bottom to the top, just like overnight. And just by changing location. Every place... What brought me back to California was the river. The Yuba River, South Yuba River. And
how old were you at this time?
Well, at the first time, I was, my father was stationed at Mather Air Force Base in Sacramento, and that's the American River. But I fell in love with those kind of free-flowing rivers of clear water and being out in the water, swimming. I was certified in scuba diving before even Patty and those diving work. It was all done by Red Cross.
Okay.
The American Red Cross did certification for diving.
Wow.
And I got it done. It was on a military base. And one of the same military base that I met a very popular, who became a rock star, that we called him Jimmy, but it was Jim Morrison of the Doors.
Wow.
He was the son of an admiral. His father was an admiral in the Navy, and he was stationed at Sandia Base in Albuquerque, which was they had a joint naval and army thing going on. And so Jimmy was. There's actually a song on the internet where it's called K Circle B. And
K Circle B?
B.
B.
As in boy.
Okay.
And I'm sure no one knows the background of that song because what it was the title song of a TV show that all of us kids watched that was called K Circle B, which was KOB TV in Albuquerque. And because it was headed up by a Western guy and a singer, he called it K Circle B, the TV ranch for you and me.
Right.
And they had Roy Rogers' show, Gene Autry, Little Rascals, and we all watched it religiously. And so, I still want to call him Jimmy. Jim, when he became famous, he sang it on a concert, and it is on the internet. And it's called K Circle B, and it goes like this. Heading down the trail to Albuquerque, saddlebags all filled with beans and jerky. Heading for K Circle B, the TV ranch for you and me. K Circle B in Albuquerque. And Dick Bill and yodel, yodel. And so Jim Morrison did it one time, all blasted. He was totally blasted. I don't know.
On stage?
On stage.
Yep.
Psychedelically, though.
Certainly.
But he sang that song.
Wow.
And it made me think when I saw that how we, as we got older, reminisce for these happy childhood moments.
Right.
And these moments in our childhood that were significant. Like you asked me, do I recall what were the most important? And now I know a piece of Jim Morrison's past, how important that K Circle B was, and maybe even Dick Bills, the singer, because he had Dick Bills had the guy who hosted it was like a Roy Rogers, and he had his own band. Had players like one of his guitar players with Glenn Campbell, who rose to fame in country crossover music.
Right.
So. Yeah, those were moments. I told you that was a moment at one
formative
time.
Experiences
Yeah.
throughout your life. You mentioned to me when we were talking previously about growing up in New Mexico and being so close to these nuclear tests and these various really high classified scientific and research institutions. I'm curious, how did that kind of impact your perspective on the world now? I mean, we live in a world where it's always talked about, right? This fear of nuclear fallout, and how has that shaped you as a person?
It made me think about how ignorant, and I don't mean it in a derogatory term, but how naive, how unknowledgeable the public is about what is going on, about things that they're not involved with.
Right.
Simple as that. For us, we felt privileged that we were standing out in our pajamas in our backyard 21 miles from an above-ground nuclear test that was bigger than Hiroshima.
Yeah.
We thought, wow, this is...
You don't look any worse for the wear, I gotta say. Maybe some of your friends, but not you.
There's some things, you know.
Yeah.
My brother died of cancer. My father had certain things, that tuberculosis and lung-related things. As he took care of the trucks that went out to the site.
Okay.
My mother's lungs gave out, and fibrosis. Both my sisters have had cancer, and one has bone deterioration that she's had over 20 surgeries because their bones are just too soft.
Right.
But none of it has ever been attributed to that. I have thyroid problems and heart murmurs and atrial fibrillation. Can it be the cause? Well, the number one fallout is iodine 131. I hope I got that right. And it affects thyroid.
Okay.
And the thyroid affects the heartbeat. And so I don't know the long-term effects.
Right.
The longest term. Many people have died. I'm still kicking. And I think it was part why I also became a vegetarian 40-some years ago. Mm-hmm. I knew that I needed to keep my health as strong as possible. Body being a self-healing mechanism, I better keep the machine in the best possible shape as I can.
I see.
And but those tests, like I said, I earned a merit badge. I had a Boy Scout merit badge for handing out a flyer to all of the civilians, the non-military people, and the military people, because on the base, there was only maybe 500-700 people total, and I handed to each household one of these flyers that said, this is going to happen because this test is going to be loud. It's going to be big.
Brace yourselves.
Yeah. Don't stay in your house, it said. Go outside. Stand on the bomb side. We all knew where that was. And don't face the direction. Turn to look at your wall till you see the flash.
Wait, so you're saying stand on the side of the house closest to the bomb?
Yes.
Why is that?
Well, it was explained
so
to me by my dad, and I can't say that this is what the Atomic Energy Commission was thinking.
Yeah.
But my dad explained it. He says, "Yeah, the boom from the blast boom
knock the house
could
down.
Be so significant that it could shatter glass and it would implode into the house."
I see.
This way, we're standing on the bomb side, getting the blast ourselves.
You get knocked down instead.
Yeah, but not glass coming at us.
Dang. Wow.
And so this was a flyer. I earned a merit badge. I think it was a citizenship merit badge or something like that. And by handing out these flyers. And that's what we did. You know, I can think of the morning that we were, 2 mornings particularly, when these big, large tests, Blanca and the other one, I can't think of its name. But there we were, just out in our pajamas, our parents holding their cups of coffee and their robes and stuff, because it was 6 o'clock in the morning. And before they went to work and before we went to school, and there we out there, oh boy, we're going to get to see this. And
fireworks.
Fireworks. And it was just like lightning went out behind you. We were looking at the wall, and
boom.
No sound, just flash. Oh, we can turn around and look. So now we turned around and looked, and I had the camera and those pictures that are on my website there.
Yeah.
And
We'll probably play some of those videos while we're chatting. Yeah. Yeah.
That was actually shot with an 8mm Revere
Okay.
camera, and I made an MP4 out of it, just converted it, so that's why you're able to see it.
I see.
But and so we started taking pictures of the bomb rising, the cloud going up and everything. And then it was off to breakfast and school, and then we were forced to stay in because the fallout cloud came over the school. The whole sky was just darkened, but it had this pink kind of coral glow to it.
You have a picture of that I've seen. It's stunning. In a spooky kind of way.
We're saying, we don't see anything falling out.
Sure.
Fallout wasn't explained to us.
Sure.
As kids.
And
probably none of the parents or contractors either. Just the scientists knew that.
Right.
And so that was a normal day for us. We thought we were privileged to be able to see such a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
so having been one of the few people probably around nowadays that's actually witnessed something like that firsthand, is there a major key takeaway or something that you would like people who haven't been able to experience that to know? Is there anything that's worth driving home about that experience? And there may not be, but I'm just really curious because you're really unique in that sense.
I don't know that there's so much in science that science is about discovery and looking at what doesn't exist and bringing it into the existence.
Yeah, okay.
And it's just not conceivably possible for everyone to know everything. I think it's nowadays with the internet, it sure is getting better.
Yeah.
Because, you can look up almost anything and get at least a overall picture. In those days, you couldn't.
Right.
And you totally trusted the government. This was the government that defeated the Nazis and the Imperial Japanese, and that even though we were attacked first, we triumphed.
Sure.
We were the great United States of America. And when we moved to England, those people, they were so appreciative of Americans for saving
They were
them.
a lot closer to that than we were.
And people in the French were the same way. They adored you if you were an American.
Right.
And so all this, and to this day, we take for granted that, there's not bombs falling on us. Yes, there's incidents that happened, but nothing like all those countries have experienced civilian death because of that. I can't say the same for the Native American, the so-called Indians in the United States. They were Indians because of Columbus. People thought they discovered India.
Yeah, they misunderstood where they were.
The shores of India. Well, but they didn't fare very well. But the whole world is a series of occupations and colonization by the more powerful.
Right.
And I think the idea that we have checks and balances on the power, and our representatives are the ones who represent us, the senators, the House of Representatives, supposedly the Supreme Court, and our system of government guarantees that we can sit here and do this, in safety.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the same all over the world.
No.
And it's only, maybe, if it's any better, it's only because those countries like Switzerland, they got so much money in the bank, no one's going to attack them. And
they're paying for it.
So my takeaway is that let's give our children an opportunity to learn, to make them excited, to support them in being excited about learning about as much as they can of things that will affect them and their children in the future.
I see. That's really valuable information. Thank you.
it's always been said from Churchill to that if we don't learn by history, we're condemned to repeat it.
Right.
And, that's pretty general, but the thing is, history has so many lessons. Let's start looking at them and see how we can make a better world today.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's all there. For example, we're raised, that Columbus discovered America.
Right.
He never saw America. He never set foot on it. He never even saw it with his eyes. Columbus landed in Haiti.
Okay.
And from Haiti, he went to Cuba. And from Cuba, he moved to somewhere in the Caribbean. And then first South America, then he went to South America, Colombia, Panama. But he never got to North America. No, Columbus never did.
Do you know, I guess, who would have been the first to do that then?
Ponce de Leon.
Okay.
And another fellow were in Florida. And then went across to Texas and Baja, southern they called it California, but it was what we call the Baja now.
Yes.
And like the earliest places are New Mexico.
Yep.
Actually, New Mexico was named before Mexico.
Really?
Mexico.
It wasn't called New Mexico at that time, I'm guessing.
Well, it was called New Spain. Mexico was New Spain.
Okay.
And when they achieved their independence, they named it Mexico.
I see.
But New Mexico already had been in existence.
Right.
It's like I live in Nevada City, and it preceded the state of Nevada.
Right.
But
dang, I did not know that.
there's so many things like that in history that are odd, but there was actually a reason.
And I believe Los Alamos is in New Mexico. Is that correct? And you were an employee there working as a psychotherapist. Is that correct?
And administrator of a special needs school for predominantly adult, developmentally disabled, and what was known then as the mentally retarded, Association for Retarded Children.
Right.
And it was a sheltered workshop where they made things and sold them and made an income. Also learned daily living skills.
Okay.
And rather than go to it, because at the time and preceding that, it was all about institutions. It was you had a retarded child, a developmentally disabled, mentally impaired child, special needs child, they ended up in a hospital on a mountaintop in El Capitan, New Mexico. We brought them home, and we created group homes. We had to write the licensing standards for group homes. How
did you get the idea that this was something that you should get into, and how did you find the format and structure for? Because I mean, from what we discussed previously, you in a lot of ways kind of pioneered the approach to helping these folks.
Everything was. Like Kennedy once said, rather why? It's not about why. Ask why not. And it's like, what
can my country do for me?
What might happen? Let's try it.
Right.
As long as there's no danger of injury,
sure.
Let's try different things. Let's make adaptive equipment to where a Down syndrome person with a measured intelligence of 60 IQ was running a radial arm saw.
Wow.
Well, through adaptive kinds of ways of doing it, we were making wheel chocks for aircraft, for military aircraft, and we were selling them to the military. And in Los Alamos, we created, the picture I showed you was anode cathode pins, over 4,000. And we assembled them in our sheltered workshop with people with, like I said, IQs in the 50 to 70 range.
Right. And giving them a purpose. I think that's incredibly valuable for them, too.
Social, money, love of camaraderie.
Friendships, connections.
It was a wonderful experience. And I got involved in that. And I was in Los Alamos for that. And I had an opportunity to meet scientists who were doing some amazing things, like SILAC was a fusion attempt to create fusion power, and different kinds of medical and health things. That laser, as I understood from the laser group guys, was part of the the initiative that Reagan had put into effect to create the Star Wars, what they called the Star
SDI.
Wars.
Yeah.
It
Defense
was to
Initiative.
shoot the laser.
Yeah.
It could shoot down satellites, and it could shoot satellite to satellite.
Yep.
And here the parts were made in a sheltered workshop with
Wow.
developmentally disabled people.
That's incredible.
Well, because they could.
Sure.
And it amazed people. And it like, well, yeah, don't ask why. Ask why not. Let's just do it.
Right.
Give it a shot. And got involved with Special Olympics, which was a wonderful thing. And it was a great experience in Los Alamos. And one of the funnest things I used to like to do is I'd take my lunch early, and I would go into the Los Alamos Inn, which had this great buffet. All the scientists and technicians ate there.
Right.
And I'd go there early to make sure I had a good seat in the middle of everything and a big round table, and just sit there and pull up my
Soak
plate.
it in.
And here they come in, and then they'd start talking.
Right.
And there would be people from all over the world, and they'd be talking about their science and their, none of it classified,
Sure.
but definitely exciting to hear.
Right.
It was like being in the ultimate university.
Yeah.
And,
I understand that you did have a clearance at one point, though, due to your work sort of counseling folks who were working on those classified materials.
Yeah, to keep my credential active, in Los Alamos, I worked for the Los Alamos Family Council and did psychotherapy for people, including marriage counseling, youth counseling, and individual counseling. And because the clients were related to the lab projects,
Right.
there was a good chance. I mean, I had privileged communication with these people,
Yeah.
and the possibility of them revealing some of these facts was possible. So I had to have a Q clearance
Right.
for that. I don't know what my clearance was, my level.
Sure. I'm curious. So I have the sense that, and I don't think that this is unknown to people, that technology is well advanced beyond what is publicly kind of known about or acknowledged. I don't think anybody's surprised by me saying that.
Yeah.
And I've heard individuals who, they work as contractors for the Department of Defense, for example, and they talk about going into work and working on technologies that are just so beyond the veil of what most folks would even recognize as possible at this point, bordering on magic, essentially, that for them to go home and get in their gas-powered cars and go home and eat their normal lives with their wives and children, it's just a complete shift for them, and it's, for some of them, it breaks them inside. And I'm just curious, did you ever get a sense that you might be around people that were experiencing those kind of sort of cognitive dissonances? Just having been there,
Actually,
I think about this.
The opposite was true.
Okay.
Surprisingly.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
In Los Alamos, when I was there in the 70s, the early 70s to 1979, it was explained to me that there were 16,000 people, men, women, and children, who lived on the hill in Los Alamos. And according to the information from the lab, there's approximately 4,400 PhDs.
Wow, okay.
And if you figure a family is husband and wife and a couple of kids, back then, that's one PhD per household.
Right, yeah.
The kids who went to like Los Alamos High School, they always did really well in academics and test scoring. They just skewed the results because they were brilliant. And so what you're saying is, yeah, they're working on projects that are just out of this world. But I found that they also were very good at their hobbies,
right,
in their after work hours. One guy I knew, he was the foremost authority on this form of chemistry, this nuclear chemistry. Mm-hmm. But yet he's also, in another circle, he's best known as the foremost authority in North New Mexican Indian pottery, particularly the Jemez red pottery.
Okay.
And so he's known by this whole bunch of people in the world as this guy. but not as a scientist.
Right.
So he could shift gears just like that. And I saw that very common, more than the other direction where they were consumed by their work. They found ways of going and consuming themselves in model train building,
Right.
or whatever it was. They had their own ski hill, so Padito Mountain, and they were there was many good skiers that physically fit. They were jogging,
Okay.
and it was. Now Terman was from Stanford University, did a study on genius, and it was a longitudinal study where he followed the lives of people who had very high IQs, and what he discovered was this fact that they also had this interest in other things than their career and their profession.
They excel in not just one place, but
Right.
variety.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Wow,
And
okay.
they took it with the same passion
Yep.
of discovery and of application,
Right.
and that was so true. And I can't speak. I can say in general that most of the work that I did was in the counseling center was more related to communications.
Mm-hmm.
People, because of the great disparity of what maybe their daily job was, they didn't have means of communicating in marriages as effectively.
Yeah, right. They're really good at one thing, but maybe not the talking to their wives thing.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Sure.
And I'm generalizing.
Sure.
But I didn't see it was that because they were so consumed in their work.
I see.
Yeah, it's just like Einstein. He's a philosopher and a poet and a writer and very playful. He's a sailor. He said he'd rather sail than some point. He said
Wow.
sailing is his favorite passion, and I see that with that group in Los Alamos. They're fascinating people.
Incredible.
And takeaway. Gosh, I feel so privileged to be able to sit in that table and listen and carry that conversation as far as I could,
Right.
and then go, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that went right over me.
You lost me. And so this one, okay, they're talking about volcanic activity. Lost there.
Yep.
And then whatever it might be.
Tearing in the radio dial.
Yeah.
Looking at different
Just
tables.
Tune in to as far as I could go with it.
I see.
And some of my board members were scientists, group
Right.
leaders, and assistant group leaders, and that's how they organized. They were in groups.
Yep.
They call it the different group, laser group, and being able to. Now I would try to be able to. Well, tell me more about solar energy group. Now there's a solar panel on every house in the country.
Right.
Back then it was like magic.
Yeah.
Getting energy from the sun.
It was a new thing.
Yeah.
Damn, that's incredible. I'm curious, this is a super open-ended question, but just having had all these experiences that you have had, what is the meaning of life for you personally?
It's a gift.
It's a gift.
Yeah, the first word that came to my mind
Yeah.
as soon as you said that. I hadn't thought about it. I didn't even think. It's just a gift.
I agree, absolutely. Yeah, I try to practice, just walking outside and seeing the mountains and being grateful for that.
Oh, yeah.
It makes everything a lot easier and a lot better, when you focus on those kinds of things. So that's powerful.
In the Book of Miracles, Marianne Williamson wrote in one of her books that, a miracle is just a change of perception. And it's like the ability to walk out and see the mountain and be just overwhelmed,
Yes.
and or not. And it's like, but if you're open, if you're, I don't want to use the word woke because that's got a new definition now,
Mm-hmm.
but awake.
Yes.
And to absorb it every day is incredible. And even if it means stopping and just looking at one ant walking,
Yeah.
you'll be amazed.
Right.
And there's so much more. And I was celebrating Cinco de Mayo, I went over to one of my favorite places and had some Mexican food and a margarita. And there were these 3 families and their children playing. And I thought, I just want to walk over to them and say, hey, these are going to be, what's happening right here is really, you're going to look back and say, this is the greatest years of your life.
Special.
Yeah, you're going to look at these years and go, oh my gosh, I wish I had spent more time. Maybe not. They were those kids were, and their parents were very intertwined and
Sure.
communicated well, and the kids played well with each other. But you were, and I thought, well, every day is that way if you take that approach.
That perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really believe that that's, we kind of, the glasses we put on each morning are the glasses we're going to see things through.
Yeah.
And they can be really dirty, but we can choose to clean them off just by a matter of intention and choice.
Sure.
So I think that's really important. Dang.
And what is discovered is actually we tend to find out, they discovered more about that, like the blocks and the pyramids. And,
Right.
Well, someone discovered another look at it,
Right.
after all these thousands of years.
Different pair of glasses.
Different pair of glasses and spending a little bit more time and
Yep.
seeing things from a different perspective. So the gift of life is, especially here in our country and other free countries, is just worthy of being cherished to the highest. Just cherish it. It's not what you don't have, is what you have,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it might be.
Right.
It's just cherish it is grand, and you will have a life filled with glory.
I see. Yeah. So on the flip side of that, do you fear death?
Do I fear it? No.
No.
I kind of annoyed at the idea that it might happen sooner than I'd like.
Sure.
But not a real fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love these opportunities. Look, I met you,
Yep.
at a dog park, and here we are. We're creating something
Yeah.
that could last for how many years, and we both learn and gain from it. I like more of those experiences with my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren and my children,
Right.
and my friends and new friends. It's such a gift.
Yeah, man.
Just enjoy your gift.
Right.
And I say to people,
We need to hear that more, to stop and just take things in, right? And think about, we could be a lot worse off than we are. It doesn't matter where we are. And that gratitude, I think it's the gift, but you can't even recognize the gift if you don't have the gratitude, right, for it. So,
you have to be open and to the possibility.
Mm-hmm.
I never told my children we couldn't. I was a single dad for several years, and my kids would ask, "Hey, can we go to the theme park?"
Yeah.
When summer vacation. And I always told them, "I'll consider the possibility." To consider means to think.
Yeah.
The possibility is anything can happen.
Right.
So yes, I'm open to the possibility. Let's see how we can make that happen.
Yeah.
We were struggling money-wise, just didn't have money to throw around. So how can we make this happen financially?
Mm-hmm.
How can we make this happen in all ways? And my kids would come up with ideas.
Right.
And we'd take our own food. We used to make these potato delights. We'd take a potato and we'd partially bake it, and then we'd core it out with an apple core,
Okay.
and then fill the inside with like a burrito stuffing, and then put the end of the potato back into it.
I'm hungry
and
now.
Finish baking it.
Yeah.
And then wrap it, keep it in tin foil, the aluminum foil, and then we had these potato lunches.
Sandwich to go,
They're
right
just
there.
loaded cheese and all of our favorite stuff, and because we weren't buying food at the theme park, or
Right.
maybe we'd buy ice cream there or something.
Sure. But you figure out how to make it work.
Figure out how to make it work.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Is there anything that I haven't been able to ask you about that you wanted to make sure that we touched on this evening?
Oh, I can't think of anything in particular other than, I want to invite your, excuse me, your listeners and viewers to check out my site, the video.
How can people get in touch with you and find out more about the work that you're doing? I know you have a book as well as a lot of other creative work.
I think through the YouTube site, the Francisco 49.
I'll make sure it's in the description.
Number 49. Yeah. Because kind of the things I'm excited about is I've done a video there, like promotion video for the book to do a movie, and I want to get Demi involved at that stage too.
Right.
For your viewers, Demi Lovato is my niece, and she's a wonderful singer and songwriter, and I want to bring her into some of these projects and create a new avenue for her expression of her creativity.
Fantastic.
So,
and I understand that you're working on a fiction novel as well?
Yes, I am working on a dream. It's a dream. The story is about a dream that a woman has. And I get to incorporate my family, because our family, the Herreras, Ortiz, and the Pereyas and Lovatos, were part of New Mexico's history, which is one of the first colonizations in North America.
Yes.
And Santa Fe, which used to be the Cañada de Santa Cruz, my family, I have a deed, the document of my family's signature of that land.
Right.
And sadly, the Native Americans, gave it up to them in exchange for some promise, but it just goes there. I'm not making any judgment at this point, but my family started there and grew from there, and here I am. And I get to incorporate my family's history into this fiction novel.
Right.
So I'm building it to learn about Santa Fe and the characters and the main players and the olden days and the current days. And
yes.
So I get to build in that, but it is a story of a fiction story about the possibility of what it would be like to know who is known as the Virgin Mary.
Yeah.
And it's all fiction, but you have to assume, like, if you were God, you were going to have a boy on this earth that was going to save the world, but you needed a woman, to birth this child, because it was going to be, who would you pick?
Right. Sounds like a
pretty amazing
compelling story.
She had to be a pretty amazing person.
Seriously.
And
certainly fill up at least one book.
And the thing is, there's so little written about her in the scripture. So this takes place in a dream, and I'm always amazed at I more and more respect the contribution of the feminine spirit in the evolution of all sentient beings. I'm not just talking about humans, I'm talking about animals, and you see how the protectiveness and the life nurturance and the boldness and to protect the young and all that. And Mary would epitomize all of that and more, because she was the ultimate example of a great mom and a great woman. And so she was also that as a child, I assume, and that's part of the fiction story, is some of the stories that might have been as a gardener and as a friend to her friends.
Right.
And so it's pretty exciting to do this. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Well, I look forward to getting the opportunity to take a look at that.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you a story. I'm gonna send you an incident.
Cool.
Out of the book. So
fantastic.
Get to know her.
This jumped in my head, and before you wrap it up, I'm just curious. How do dreams play a role in your life personally? Do you have any relationship? Because I'm fascinated by dreams, and I've had some pretty crazy ones myself. So I'm curious for you.
Dreams are just another part of our life.
Yeah.
It's just like lunch or any other important part of our day.
Yeah.
And it's like they're you can go into the Freudian interpretation of dreams, or like I myself have a syndrome, which is not a disease or something you can cut out. It's a syndrome of behavior that way my brain works is known as hyperaphasia, and it gives me very lucid dreams. I mean, I can be in a dream and just say, you know what, I don't like this dream. I'm out of here.
Okay.
And that's my key. I say, I'm out of here. And I leave it, and it's gone.
Have you always had that experience? Did something traumatic happen where that came on for you, or was it always that way?
Always.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think as a child, I don't know that I could get at them as quick,
Sure.
but I knew they were. I would have a reality check in my dream.
Knock on the wall.
Yeah, something I'd go like, oh, wait a minute, is this a dream? If it is, I don't want to go anymore on this one. And I'd wake up or I'd shift somehow.
Okay.
And it's just part of the way I think.
Yep.
And it's also, they say that schizophrenics this is common amongst schizophrenics.
Right.
I've never had the pathology that I'm aware of. Sure. Sadly, of an unfortunate schizophrenic, but I do the hyperaphasia is
right.
It's part of my life, and dreams. I love dreams, and knowing that I have some control there to get out of one or to move it along, or
it's freeing in a way, because I know a lot of people who don't want to go to sleep because of what they're going to experience. So I have this one dream that's my own job. It's like I applied, and I to this day I don't know if, when I was in Clovis before we started the project, with the developmentally disabled, I wasn't very happy where I was working, and there was a job position for similar skills, and so I'm not sure if I did or I didn't apply for this job. And so I would always wonder, after leaving Clovis, did I just not? I think I remember getting a letter saying to come in, and I didn't go in. Right.
And so I never went to this job. So it seems like about every 10 years, I go back to Clovis, and I can see the street and where the job was located, and I go by there, and the last time I went there, they had made an office. They created an office for me, and I was like this well-known person. I was like the Elon Musk of this business. And so I'm trying to think, without sounding stupid, is to what do we do here? Right. Because I don't know. There was nothing in the sign. There was nothing about what the people were doing. They were just moving around in the office and talking and chatting. And I still don't know what the job is.
But you excelled at it, I guess.
I was very good at it.
Right.
Because everybody knows me. I'm a legend. And in this job, I mean, I had the corner office.
Yep.
And extra windows and plants, and they water the plants.
Wow.
Yeah, it's my own job, I call it.
Right. That's fascinating. So that's kind of a reoccurring experience every decade?
It's about every decade, yeah.
Okay.
I really try to go back. I think tonight I'm going to go and I'm going to find out just what we do there.
Yeah.
And
steal some paperwork.
Maybe get my gold watch and I don't know. Maybe I have a retirement that's been building up. I could use it now.
Yeah, that 401k kick in.
But no, I can't. It just happens when I go there. I never know.
Right.
Other than it takes about 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there might be a lot more to that than it just being a dream. I have no idea. Who knows? Right.
Well, it's not very far. Clovis, New Mexico is not very far from here.
Yeah.
And one day, maybe on a book tour, I'll scoot on over there and see what's going on.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a really great way to wrap things up, Francisco. Thank you for spending an hour hanging out with me, and I'm sure that people are really going to appreciate hearing from you. So I appreciate your time.
And one thing I want to add is that I've had some amazing experiences in my life. I just feel so blessed.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I say it's a gift. And some of them are just over the top. There's so many.
A lot of Grateful Dead shows, yeah.
Yeah. And I challenge, and not challenge, but I invite anybody on anything I said tonight, if you have questions or doubts, ask me for evidence.
Yeah.
I'm very firm about evidence. I won't tell a story unless I can provide the evidence.
Right.
Some document, something. Like I talked about the atomic bombs. Well, you've seen the video.
Yeah.
And you've seen me walking around in that desert.
Yep.
And
60-mile walk to commemorate your father's 70-mile walk as a prisoner of war.
Right. Yeah, I documented that. Yep. That was an incredible experience. It really was. And my dad was alive at the time I did that, so it was
special.
It was very special, bonding with me and Dad.
Wow.
Of course, I wasn't getting beaten, and I had food,
enough water.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you weren't going to prison.
I did walk the distance, and I also walked in Japan. I mean, not Japan, but the Philippines. I went to walked that distance,
right.
the Bataan Death March,
right.
and in phases, different times. I didn't do it all at once, like I did the walk to Sacramento.
Yep.
But yeah, this has been great, James. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. You're welcome back anytime.
All right.
Yeah, appreciate it.